Welcome back. The panel is with us. Yes, with us in studio. Amy Walter, the brand new title here, editor-in-chief and publisher of what is now the Cook Political Report with Amy Walter. Charlie Cook's still around, of course, a little bit. We should note that. You're just doing now all the hard work. Jake Sherman, co-founder of the Punchbowl News website, former White House political director during the George W. Bush years, Sarah Fagan, and former Maryland Congresswoman Donna Edwards. Welcome to you all. Look, I want to get to the Cuomo story, but I do want to get to COVID politics here a minute, Amy. And look, let's frame the discussion. Biden, DeSantis, here's the back and forth.
If some governors aren't willing to do the right thing to beat this pandemic, then they should allow businesses and universities who want to do the right thing to be able to do it.
Joe Biden has taken to himself to try to single out Florida over COVID. This is a guy who ran for president saying he was going to, quote, shut down the virus. And what has he done? He's imported more virus from around the world by having a wide open southern border.
By the way, both of them have some shakier poll numbers today than they did a month ago when we weren't at 100,000 plus cases here. This why we're seeing finger pointing?
We are, but we're also, you know, it's really interesting, Chuck, in looking from April until now, and many of these new polls, some of them you pointed out, what you're seeing actually is as the Delta variant has come into play, people have actually become more hardened in their partisanship. So Republicans have become more against mandates. Democrats have become more solidly for them. Republicans much more against the CDC masking or saying they disapprove how the CDC is handling masking. Democrats approve more strongly. Right. So both sides are just digging in even deeper, which, as you know, in politics and in life, you're not going to convince anybody. That's not. They're not trying to convince anybody.
Jake, this feels like, and we just saw it with schools. We just had a little discussion here. This feels like this is about to explode as schools come, and this hardening shows up in the classroom.
Biggest problem Joe Biden faces. I mean, we say all the time, I was talking to a member of Congress the other day who said his entire presidency is about COVID. People don't feel good. Their kids are not going back to school. He's already facing, by the way, a resurgent Republican Party that thinks they're going to win the House of Representatives in 2022 with good reason. He is quickly seeing it's obviously not the end of his presidency, but this next, he's facing that real possibility that Republicans are going to take the House. Schools are becoming less and less certain what the climate's going to look like, and I think that's a huge problem for him.
Yeah.
Sarah, there's some risk here for Governor DeSantis, though, to keep doubling down on the base rhetoric when there's his numbers are going down because Floridians are frustrated too.
Sure. I mean, people are frustrated everywhere, and they were told when the vaccines came out and when they got vaccinated, this would all get better, and it's not. And some of it is the unvaccinated, but we're seeing these breakthrough cases, and so I think any chief executive is experiencing frustration from their constituents. But at the end of the day, this is Joe Biden's pandemic now, and that has become very, very clear. He rode into office as cases were starting to go down after winter. They're going up, and, even though his approval is holding strong, if we were sitting here a month from now, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Donna, I have to say, the biggest ball drop here, I think, communications-wise, has been with the CDC. It is, before we thought it was the way the Trump folks were handling the CDC. But, where are the daily briefings? Where's, I get the sense that's where there's a bit of a ball drop on this end of things.
Well, I do think the public has been really confused because the messaging has been, it's been a lot of mixed messaging. On the other hand, I think what you began to see over this last week is the White House again taking control of the messaging coming out about where the administration is going with vaccines, what the rollout is going to be from the FDA. I think that it's a moving target because this virus is a moving target.
Right.
And until there's more control over the virus and getting more people vaccinated, it really complicates the messaging.
We could have used those daily White House briefings these last 2 weeks. I will say this. Those things that we all mocked about a year and a half ago, those might have been helpful. All right, let's turn to the dominant political story right now of the summer, and that's Andrew Cuomo. Here's Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, laying out the allegations against the governor.
The investigation found that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed current and former New York State employees by engaging in unwelcome and non-consensual touching and making numerous offensive comments of a suggestive and sexual nature that created a hostile work environment for women.
As a colleague said on the air to me, I said, he's a man on an island, and this person said, yeah, and high tide's coming. Right. So, Amy, it's not a matter of if, but when. But I guess I was just going to say, how?
And how, right.
How does this work?
So do you want to be impeached and become the second governor in the history of New York?
And never be able to hold public office ever again in New York.
Okay.
And he may, a Cuomo, not being able to run for office. Think about that.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So do you want to do that? Or do you want to say, I'm not running for re-election, but I'm not going to resign?
A little late for that.
Do you want to say, I'm going to resign once you see the numbers? You know, other politicians have been able to survive. We think about Bill Clinton. We think about Donald Trump, in part because they had the base with them. You know, both of those still had core support from their base. You go back and you look at the polling, even a month ago, Chuck, 50-something% of Democrats said he shouldn't be impeached. Today, 50-something% of Democrats say Cuomo should be impeached.
How does, if the legislature does not, there's no incentive for them not to impeach him.
Right.
It doesn't matter. His career is over, whether he's impeached, whether he resigns, whether he doesn't run again. His career is over.
Right, but
there's no coming back from this for him.
No doubt, but if you're the Democratic Party in New York...
That's right. That's what
when do you need him out? You need him out
right.
like when the calendar says 21, not when the calendar says 22, correct?
Well, I mean, Democrats don't need this to be an ongoing story. And it's not just a New York story, it's a national story. And so I think, you know, that's why you see that Mario Cuomo has not one single Democrat...
By the way,
Andrew,
Donna, I've been doing
yes,
it too, so
right.
don't worry. I've been doing it too. Sorry,
not,
Matilda. I don't want her.
Right. He has not one Democratic defender, and that is the difference between the, between Clinton and others. There are no Democrats defending him.
But he's a particularly callous kind of abuser, because it's one thing to be a sexual harasser and never talk about it. It's quite another. I mean, both are terrible, but it's quite another to be on the forefront, to have the most aggressive legislation, to have the most aggressive language, flanked by Hollywood actresses. You're the standard bearer for what is right in America, and then to have this come out.
Jake, some interesting insiders who have been very much prominent on the Me Too movement have gotten caught up in this. This is really... dealt a little bit of a credibility blow for some of these folks.
Absolutely. And I think it's what's most stunning is just the Chuck Schumer, all of his longtime political allies are just taking the opportunity to throw him under the bus and to ask him to move on. And I just think back to what Amy said. If he says, I'm not running again, I still think they have to impeach him. I still think they have to get rid of him.
That was a 3 month ago idea. Right. I think if he did that 3 months ago, Tish James's report might have been different, but he never chose to go that path. But there you go. In fact, he was going to run for re-election.
That's right.
As of a week ago, according to folks I talked to. All right. When we come back, yes, there is a strong progressive movement in the Democratic Party. But it turns out the base of the Democratic Party in elections is a bit more Biden than Bernie. Stay with us. Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.